Alright, good morning, ladies and gents. The other day, I decided to go through this thought experiment where I was wondering whether or not needlessly large wands building into Rabadon's death cap is a better build path on Evelynn specifically instead of going Oblivion Orb. Um, so I decided to run the math on this because I wasn't super sure. So first page here of my notes, we see that we have just some generic information about Evelynn. This is just her normal abilities, so I'm just looking at how much damage her total hate spike does in the AP ratio. This is just stuff pulled off the wiki, so nothing too impressive here. I'm only looking at empowered whiplash. Evelynn doesn't really use standard whiplash. She just doesn't use standard whiplash, so we don't consider it. I put last caress on here, but I don't factor in last caress into my calculations because last caress is a lot of overkill, generally speaking, past rank 1. And secondarily, the AP ratio throws everything off. I think it's worth saying as a caveat that AP will always be slightly better for last caress because again, it just scales so magnificently well with Last Caress. But, as I've also said, at ranks 2 and 3, Last Caress is generally overkilling the enemy by a huge amount. The only time that it's not overkilling and you need every ounce of damage from Last Caress is at rank 1. Even with the buff that went through recently with Evelynn, Evelynn still needs every ounce of firepower from her ultimate to kill people when they hit the 3rd mark. Just keep that in mind, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So my standard combination to look at. Oh, I also mentioned Charm doesn't scale with AP. It does more damage to monsters, which we don't care about. So we consider Charm not to scale with AP. It only scales with rank for enemies. So our standard combo is like Q Q Q E. I mean, it doesn't really matter what order you do it in. It's just a point of that. So you're using three Qs and an E. Actually, it'd be four, but I mean it's all baked in here. So it's four Qs because it's the dart, hate spike, hate spike, hate spike, whiplash. So this is your total damage, right? Your total damage is around 200 to 500 plus 200% AP, which is really good. I don't add in this yet, but we'll add in the scaling with whiplash later. We're also gonna throw in runic echoes because you always go runic echoes on Evelynn. That's just how it is. So that's an extra bit of damage. We also add in electrocute, which is about 9 damage per level plus some more AP. I'm not considering. I will consider other runes, but for default, I'm considering my own Evelynn tree, which is to go electrocute, sudden impact. What's in the middle tier? I think it's I go eyeball collection, and then I go Ultimate Hunter. The last tier of Domination Tree doesn't impact Evelynn runes at all. Obviously, we can go like Relentless Hunter or something, but we're not here to discuss that. My secondary tree, I run Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm because I like late game. This may or may not be the objective best, but that's just what I mean. That's what I always use anyway. So I'm doing this more for my sake than for the meta circle jerk stake. So if you don't like that, get fucked. Okay, page 2. Okay, wait, this is not page 2. Oh, hang on, I have to zoom all the way back out. There we go. Zoom out, page 2. Okay. So now we have to look at MR analysis, okay? So, um, Magic Resist applies a damage modifier. Um, this damage modifier can be a positive or a negative impact on your damage. So this is the formula for Magic Resist, and at some sample Magic Resist, you can see how much damage you take. So at 0 Magic Resist, you take true damage. That's why your damage multiplier is 1.0. At 10 Magic Resist, you take 91% magic damage, and so on and so forth, as I've charted it out here. If my math is wrong, you can leave a comment or something, or just say so. But I don't think my math is wrong. I mean, I may have fat fingered something, but everything in here seemed pretty consistent. Off to the side here, we're looking at total magic shred. So Allure shreds off 25 to 35% magic shred. Sork Boots is an 18% flat. You always go Sork Boots. Sudden Impact is 6% flat. I thought it was scaling, but it's just the lethality that's scaling. I should also mention for this combo, I'm not throwing in auto attacks. I don't. It's just I'm just gonna pretend that the auto attacks. Also, that smite doesn't exist for this. I mean, obviously, if you get an auto attacks and a smite in there, that's cool, but it doesn't have any bearing on the AP side. So, Void Staff is 40%. I don't really factor in Void Staff. This is a late game buy, but why the hell not throw it in? And then we look at some Oblivion Orb. So then I had to ask myself, okay, what is the average MR of all champions? So I looked it up, and all Okay, not all. Most ranged champions vary from 30 to 39 MR, and melee champions go from 32 to 53 MR. You look at it at level. I decided to do this calculation at level 11. At level 11, that's when Evelynn is going to be past the Runic Echoes and Sork Boots stage of the game, and she'll probably be looking at another item at that point. So, again, I'm just kind of setting up all of my assumptions here, generally speaking. I could have organized this better, but I mean, I didn't really care. It was like my notes, and then I'm kind of talking about it in hindsight. So, okay, so here we go. At level 11, Evelynn enjoys 24 Magic Shred from Boots and Sudden Impact, which, can we just make a footnote here and say that's fucking ridiculous? Like, people get really excited about Magic Shred from Morello Nomicon and Oblivion Orb, but can we just step back and appreciate the fact that we have 24 flat Magic Pen from Stork Boots and Sudden Impact, which is basically always up on Evelynn. I think Sudden Impact procs when you leave stealth, but I also know it procs when you dash, which Evelynn does on her Whiplash. So, haha. Rank 3 Allure has 30% Magic Shred, because your skill order should be Hate Spike first, and then Allure, or Charm. So level 11, it should be at rank 3. You should be using a rank 1 Whiplash. Don't rank up Whiplash. I mean, I guess you can, but this is just what I do. This is fine. So, we say here that the ranged champion's MR goes from 35 down to 0.5. Okay? So, let me just reiterate this. If you charm an enemy, or if you charm an averaged ranged champion, if you charm them and you hit them with Boots and Sudden Impact and they don't have any bonus MR, you are doing nearly true damage to them because they have half of a magic resist. Okay? Like, let's just make a little footnote here and say, holy fucking shit, Evelynn with charm is fucking scary. It's kind of not a meme when people say that when you hit an enemy with a charm, you're doing true damage, because the math says you're actually nearly doing true damage, which is fucking crazy. So, melee champions, they have 7 MR, which, I mean, okay, it's not as impressive as 0, but it's also getting there. Let me make a little asterisk here and a little aside to say, guys, if you're up against an Evelynn, you have got to build Magic Resist, because this is exactly what's going to happen if you don't build this. I know that her MR Shred is scary as hell, but if you don't build Magic Resist, she will deal true damage to you. And one of the things Riot does to keep true damage in check is that, generally speaking, true damage is quite low. I know people are not going to agree with that to the most part, but the damage potential for magic damage is a lot higher than true damage when we speak generally here in the game. That's just how it is. True damage is rare, and it's often not that much. When it is a lot, it's quite exceptional. This is why you have to build magic resist against Evelynn. I've said this over and over again in my games that I don't cast because no one wants to watch my games. That if you don't build magic resist against Evelynn, she will build so much AP that you will get like just absolutely dumpstered. Never, ever, ever let Evelynn stack AP. You have to force her into buying Void Staff, because if you don't do that, she will hard carry every game she's in. So anyway, when I started doing this, I realized that, oh my god, Evelynn is shredding off so much magic resist just with Charm and her standard magic pen that I need to start factoring in negative magic resist, which the formula is almost the same. And actually, it scales the exact same. If you thumb between the two pages here, I mean, just go back in the video and pause there, and you look at it, the formula is actually the same. It's just an inverse. So at 10 magic resist, they take 91% damage. But at negative 10, it's just the opposite. It's just plus 9. So they take 9% more damage. Which makes the calculation... I should recognize that earlier. So I look at some values here. I'm more interested in lower values. Obviously, we're not getting anywhere near the bottom of the tree here. I mean, you kind of just do this just for funsies. So you can see here that when you have negative magic resist, this is how much more damage you're taking as a percentage. By the way, if you're scared of numbers, go away. The numbers are not going to get any prettier from here on out. So if you're scared of numbers, go away. Leave. So, at level 11, Evelynn has rank 5 Q, rank 3 W, rank 1 E. The total damage is... This is your Q damage, this is your Whiplash damage, Runic Echoes, Electric Q. Your total damage is around 600 damage plus 230% AP plus the W scaling, which we're going to go into next. Oh boy. So, Okay, so to remind myself, we deal this much damage. Ignore this top formula. This one doesn't count. The damage on E is 4% of max life plus 2.5% max life multiplied by AP over 100. So if you have 100 AP, this is 1%. This is 1, which makes this 6.5% max life. If you guys haven't looked at the math on max life damage, it's actually pretty impressive. I'll show it to you later on. So, at level 11, Evelynn should have around, starting with 80 AP from Runic Echoes, because that should be done by now. Eyeball Collection, I'm being kind of generous here in saying that she'll probably have around 6 kill participation. At level 11, Evelynn, I think 303 or 323 Evelynn is a pretty average score, and I think you can generally hit that at around level 11 on Evelynn. Obviously, in the Snowball case, you have all 10 of your stacks of Eyeball Collection, and you're super duper happy. Remember, the Eyeball Collection, these don't have to be kills, okay? She doesn't. This doesn't say that she has 6 kills. This could just be that she has 10 participation. It's definitely possible. Gathering Storm, I'm saying she's probably around the 10-20 minute mark here. So it's around 8 to 24. Absolute Focus is 19 AP. I think that's all the sources. Oh, I didn't factor in the shards here. Who cares? So, we're looking at a pretty conservative. We'll say this is a conservative build. So I say she's looking at an average of around like the 136 mark. I probably should have used sig figs here to say she's around like the 130, 140 mark. But I think this is a pretty acceptable estimation here for Evelynn. I don't think I'm getting too crazy with my assumptions here. So I thought to myself that, okay, I need to start looking at damage against targets with more and more health because her E has health scaling. But actually it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. When you look at the calculations, it's actually a pretty trivial fact. So all you guys out there that say that Evelynn's a tank buster, guess what? It doesn't actually matter. Evelynn, it really doesn't matter much against tanks, which we'll see here in a second. Okay, so against a target with 1,000 HP, Evelynn is dealing 583, which is this damage up here, plus 313. Where did that number come from? Oh, that's the AP. So this is the base damage she is dealing. This is all the bonus damage from AP that she is dealing, and this right here is the amount of bonus damage the percentage health is doing here, okay? One of the interesting things here is that a level 1 Empowered Whiplash deals a base damage of 75. So the scaling of this actually makes it deal a double damage, which is quite interesting. But here's the thing though, when we start scaling up the health values, this number doesn't get much bigger. Okay? It doesn't get that much bigger comparatively speaking, okay? So this is against a soft target with like 1,000 HP, and I do it at some more numbers here. Like, the takeaway here is that against a target with 1,000 HP, Evelynn basically kills them with a full. Oh no, she would nearly kill them with a full combo. This doesn't factor in resistances and other things. This is just the raw amount of damage being output by Evelynn before it hits the enemy champion. So this would be reduced by magic resist and all. But still, this is nearly killing the guy with squishy. But the thing is that against sturdier targets, this number isn't getting much bigger, guys, okay? If this is Sona, here's Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo is taking an extra 100 damage from Evelynn. Okay, so can we stop with the fantasy that Evelynn is this super, super, super scary tank buster? Because she's hardly doing any more bonus damage to it. Okay, so, like, I know that this is scaling up quickly, but the thing is, like, your health is scaling a lot faster than this is. Okay, so Evelynn is not the super scary tank buster. And the whole meme about that Cho'Gath who got killed by Evelynn is because he fucking sucked. Okay, so let's just put that to rest. Evelynn is not strong against tanks, okay? Tanks just like to build shit items because they don't like to build magic resist because they're stupid. Alright? If you build magic resist, Evelynn won't be able to deal damage to you and you can laugh at her. Alright? Okay. So, now we get to the meat and potatoes, right? Now we know how much damage Evelynn is doing. Okay, so now we know how much damage Evelynn is doing to targets with some pretty reasonable assumptions factor in here. Now what we have to ask is how much more damage will she deal than before if she buys either or other item? So we'll do this for case A first. We'll do it for the other cases later, but it doesn't really matter. So for 25% more damage, Evelynn has to stack on another 105 AP for her to deal 25% more damage than before. For her to deal double damage against this target, she has to have almost 400 more AP. Um, which actually isn't unreasonable, guys, okay? If Evelynn, we said Evelynn is around the 130 mark right now, I've ended games well past 500 AP on Evelynn, so this is not unreasonable. But this is a lot, to be sure. So, with a needlessly large wand, Evelynn gets plus 60 AP. This is the formula for how much damage she deals. So, Needless will make Evelynn deal 14% more damage. Now, this is before mitigation, yes, but I think we factored in pretty safely here. So Evelynn will deal 14% more damage with a needlessly large wand. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. Even with mitigation, it wouldn't matter. Even if her damage is being reduced, she would still deal 14% more damage than previously. It would just still be reduced as well. So it doesn't matter. With Oblivion Orb, 20 AP is dealing 5% more damage, and is dealing this percent more damage to ranged and melee, which I interpolated from the average MR of the enemy, and I subtracted 15 on it. So I compared it from there to there. I kind of fudged the numbers here. What this means is that with an Oblivion Orb, Evelynn will deal 18% more damage to ranged, and actually 20% more damage to melee. I think the difference there is mostly in rounding. It's actually pretty minor. But the punchline is that Evelynn deals around 19 to 20%, around that ballpark, more damage to enemies with Oblivion Orb. This makes Oblivion Orb really, really good, actually. Even at the price point here, I ran the math. At this price point, if you could put percent more damage per gold, Orb deals more. Orb is more cost efficient to deal more damage than needlessly large wad, whatever, to the enemy. Okay, so problem solved. So you should buy Oblivion Orb first on Evelynn. But wait, but Rabadon's Death Cap exists, right? We don't buy needlessly large rod just because we like them. We buy them because we want Rabadon's Death Cap as soon as possible. So we have to look at that analysis, right? But we can definitively say here that Oblivion Orb, without factoring in the health, by the way, I didn't factor in the health in here at all. Without factoring the health here, Oblivion Orb is always more damage than a Needless, and it is at a better rate than a Needless. So if you go, I'll talk about the theory about when you buy this later, but let's just keep that in mind, okay? So that's our first conclusion. Orb is better than Needless, even despite the cost. Okay. But that's only for case A. We better look at case B, okay? So for case B, here's the thing, guys. These numbers are not much different, okay? Let's zoom out. Here's case B, here's case C. Look at how little these numbers change against sturdier targets, okay? For case A, Evelynn needed 420 AP. For a target with double health, Evelynn needs 30 more AP. That's kind of significant for double damage, but not really. And what we see here is that Needless is still around a 14 to even a 13% more damage increase, which is, again, that's nearly the same. It's not that much different. So despite the fact that the enemy's health doubled from 1,000 to 2,000, the Needless is only doing 1% less damage, okay? So Evelynn doesn't really care about enemy health. And the orb calculation is around the same. It's a little bit lower on this end, I think it was. Actually, no, I'm sorry. These numbers were bad. Forget these numbers, but it doesn't matter. Basically, the health doesn't matter. So the case A is always true, and I fucked up the numbers here because I was doing my math a little bit wrong. But the health doesn't matter. Okay, but let's assume that what Evelynn does a charmless hit, because maybe the charm is throwing off the numbers here, because she's doing too much damage. So we assume the same calculations for damage. Needless is always going to be 13 to 14% more damage. It's regardless of the charm. It just doesn't matter. Evelynn's damage output to the enemy is always going to be 13 to 14% more damage than the baseline, regardless of how much magic resist that the enemy has. They'll take more damage for sure, right? Like if you compare the enemy charmed versus not charmed, she'll always deal more damage when the enemy is charmed, obviously. But like in circumstances, compared to the circumstance here, it's always the same. It's just AP. And Orb is, again, it's about the same. I ran the math again, guys. It's about the same. Orb is about 21%. It's not that much difference. So, it's kind of funny because all the numbers in the past really didn't matter. Needless is always around the 13, 14-ish percent more damage, and Orb is around, I don't know, 18, 21-ish more damage. Um, it just doesn't really change much. Okay, but Rabadons, okay, so we assume here with the Rabadons that, okay, let's look at Rabadons, but we're going to look at all the AP we had before, but we're going to buy it on top of the Runic Echoes and the items we had previously, okay? So at that point, Rabadons will actually give us around 250 more AP because of it and the passive, which is actually pretty good if you think about it. But this is not... I'm sorry, hang on. When I say that this is plus 250 AP, this is not factoring in the 136 base AP we gave Evelynn. This is how much more on the top Evelynn is getting by building Rabadons. So after this item, Evelynn will be at around 375. She'll be around the 375 mark on AP, which is pretty nasty. This would approximate to 54% more damage on Evelynn, just by building Rabadon's Death Cap. So 54% more gold, or more damage, for 3,400 gold is 1% per 63 gold. Orb at 20% more damage for 160 gold is around 1% per 80 gold. So therefore, Rabadon's Death Cap is more cost efficient for doing more damage than the Orb. So therefore, Orb is better than Needless, Hat is better than Orb. Ah, but wait, there's one thing I didn't factor in here. It's the health, okay? So, if you run the calculations here, where... I think this is my last slide. This is my last slide, unfortunately. So just bear with me here, okay? If you take the going rate of more damage per gold of Hat and apply it to Orb, Orb only comes up short around 350 gold, okay? So we say that Orb is 20% more damage, and you multiply that 20% by that 63 gold value, you get around like 130 gold, okay? So you're getting 130 gold worth of Rabadon's value in the Orb, which means that you only need to make justification for 200 health to be worth 300 gold on Evelynn. Now, bear in mind that a Ruby Crystal is like, I think it's like 400 gold for 150 health, so this is a pretty good deal for getting health. So, Oblivion Orb can be of the same gold value when you look at more damage on Evelynn at level 11 with some conservative estimations here if you can value 200 life at around 350 gold. After playing this and doing some testing here and there, I found that 200 health definitely could help out Evelynn in quite a number of situations. I'm not going to say that makes you tanky, but the fact that it doesn't make you made of paper is pretty nice. I guess it's like the difference between it's like the difference of being made of tissue paper versus being made of cardstock. I mean, you're still paper, but I'd rather be cardstock than tissue paper, okay? So, oh, itchy nose. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, itchy nose. So, there you go. So now we have to ask, when do you buy Orb, and when do you buy Needlessly Large Rod? That's a bit more of a difficult question to answer here. One of the things, of course, we have to factor in with Rabadons is that Rabadons keeps increasing in gold value the later the game goes, right? With the more AP you buy, Rabadons just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. And one fun thing here might be to calculate the value of something like a Spellbinder or another item that gives you raw AP. I think that Evelynn should, just based on my intuition here of how the numbers played out, I think Evelynn should always buy Rabadons and Oblivion Orb together. Whether first or second, I think it's hard to say, but I think Evelynn should always buy them together. I think that if you are behind and you don't think you can make it long enough to build the Rabadon's Death Cap, Evelynn should buy the Oblivion Orb and try to power spike off of it as hard as possible in the mid-game. I think that if you are ahead, you can definitely go for Rabadons because you just can. And delaying it is bad, right? If you think that you can get the Rabadons without being set back, then do it. Because the Rabadons will continue to increase in gold value as the game goes on, which is a good greedy buy. I think that if you go back at the mid game and you have like 230 gold and you can only afford the Needless, you should do that. And if you have a Needless, I think that once you start down the Rabadon's tree, you should commit down the Rabadon's tree. So right in the mid game, right when you have Runic Echoes and Sork Boots, that particular back timing is very important. Um, and whether you go back with enough to buy the Needless or you go back to buy the Oblivion Orb and the condition of the game there, I think warrants a lot of mental discussion with yourself. You have to decide at that point very critically which path you're going to go down. I'll have to play more games here to really get a feel for it. I'm pretty sure the either is justifiable. I just think that you have to be careful about what you pick here. But you can pick with the comfort knowing that Oblivion Orb is almost the same value as the other one. Morellonomicon is bad though. Morellonomicon is quite horrible. I'm not gonna open my client here. Um, the problem with Morellonomicon is that finishing off the Morellonomicon doesn't give you much more gold value. You get like 100 life, which by that point you don't really care about. You don't really care about it. You got most of the life you wanted from the Oblivion Orb, so getting 100 more on Morellonomicon is not very good. You only get, I think Morellonomicon is like 70 AP, so you get 50 AP, 100 life, and the Grievous Wounds for as much as like a needlessly large rod, which is not very important. Go Morellonomicon if you need the Grievous Wounds. Go it if you want slot efficiency, but otherwise don't go it. Just don't go it. Um, I might do more. I might do more item analysis later on. If especially like I'm especially interested in Lichbane on Evelynn. I know Lichbane is strong on Evelynn, but I'll have to deal with it later. So good luck, guys. Be brave.